At the bottom of MMA, you can train twice a day, get locked inside a cage, and walk away with almost nothing. At the top, the biggest stars can make millions for a single fight, walking into an arena filled with thousands of people who paid to see their name. But there are no shortcuts between those two cages. To reach the top, a fighter has to survive 7 levels, and at every one, the opponents get better, the pressure gets heavier, and the money changes. Level 1 is the amateur fighter. At this point, fighting isn't your career. In most cases, it's something you're paying to do. You might work 8 hours during the day, then spend your evening learning how to punch, wrestle, and survive when another person is trying to do exactly the same thing to you. Your first fights happen in small venues. There are no television cameras, no luxury locker rooms, and usually no meaningful paycheck waiting afterward. At this level, the realistic fight purse can be 0. Maybe you get expenses covered, maybe a small amount, but the real payment is experience and a record that proves you belong at the next level. So you fight again and again. Every win makes your record more interesting. Every loss forces you to decide whether this is something you actually want badly enough to continue. Win enough, improve enough, and eventually the amateur fights stop being practice. Someone offers you money to fight professionally. Level 2 is the regional pro. The word professional sounds impressive, but at this level, it simply means someone is finally willing to pay you to fight. A typical regional fighter might earn anywhere from a few hundred to a few $1,000s for one night. Win, and there may be another check. Lose, and the phone might stop ringing. And the money disappears quickly. Your coach takes a percentage, your manager may take another, then there is training, equipment, travel, medical expenses, and weeks spent preparing when you could have been working somewhere else. So most regional fighters still have another job. Construction worker, bartender, personal trainer, anything that pays the bills between fights. But now every fight has something bigger attached to it. A record. Go 2-0, then 5-0, and suddenly your name starts appearing in conversations you were never part of. Promoters start looking for undefeated prospects. Managers start sending your highlights around. And every opponent becomes another test of whether your record is real or just temporary. The goal isn't to become rich here. The goal is to become impossible to ignore. Because somewhere above the regional circuit, someone is always looking for the next fighter who might belong in the UFC. For some fighters, that opportunity arrives through a phone call. For others, it comes through the Contender series. One fight, one performance, and potentially one contract that changes everything. Level 3 is the UFC Prospect. You're not in the UFC yet, but for the first time, you're close enough that one performance could completely change the direction of your career. By now, you might have 5, 8, maybe 10 professional fights. You've built a record, you've beaten regional competition, but none of that guarantees you a contract. Then the opportunity comes. One fight in front of the right people. Win isn't always enough. You have to make them remember you, because everyone on the card wants the same thing. A finish, a memorable performance, and the chance to hear that they've earned a place in the UFC. The money for that night might still not change your life. The real prize is what happens afterward, when someone puts a contract in front of you, and suddenly years of fighting for hundreds or a few $1,000s have bought you something much more valuable, a chance to call yourself a UFC fighter. But getting the contract is not the finish line. It's the beginning of the hardest level yet, because now almost everyone standing across from you was once the best fighter somewhere else. Your next fight isn't about earning a contract anymore. It's your debut. And for some new fighters, a deal around $12,000 to show and another $12,000 to win can suddenly put $24,000 on the line in a single night. Level 4 is the UFC Rookie. You finally made it. Your name is on the roster. But inside the UFC, nobody cares what you did to get here. Now you have to prove that you deserve to stay. For some entry-level contracts, the numbers might look something like $12,000 to show, and another $12,000 if you win. Lose, and that second half may disappear. $24,000 for one fight sounds like a lot. until you remember that you may only fight a few times a year, and getting ready for each one can take months. Then the expenses arrive. Coaches, training partners, management, recovery, travel. A serious fight camp can start eating into your paycheck before you ever step inside the cage. But winning changes the equation. 1 victory earns you money. 2 victories create momentum. 3 victories can turn an unknown newcomer into someone fans are starting to recognize. And sometimes, one spectacular performance can be worth more than the fight purse itself. A finish at the right moment can put you in the conversation for a performance bonus. But bonuses aren't guaranteed. Neither are future fights. Lose repeatedly, and the contract you spent years chasing can disappear faster than you earned it. So the rookie fights aren't really about getting rich. They're about survival. Win enough, stay exciting enough, and eventually you stop fighting just to keep your place. You start fighting for a number next to your name. Because once you're ranked, everything changes. The opponents have names people recognize. The fights get bigger. And for the first time, the road toward a championship becomes visible. Level 5 is the ranked contender. Getting a number next to your name changes how the world sees you. You're no longer just another fighter on the roster. You're officially one of the best in your division. But rankings don't make the fights easier. They do the opposite. From this point forward, almost every opponent is dangerous enough to end your momentum in 15 minutes. Now you're fighting people the audience recognizes. Former champions, dangerous prospects, fighters who have spent years trying to reach exactly the same place you have. The money can start changing too. Depending on the contract and the fighter's value, established contenders may earn tens of thousands, and in some cases much more, for a single fight. And the bonuses become more meaningful. A spectacular finish can potentially add a 6-figure performance bonus to your night, sometimes worth more than what you were earning from entire fights earlier in your career. But the biggest change isn't the paycheck, it's the attention. Your interviews get longer, your fights move higher on the card, and eventually, your name appears in a main event. Win a main event against the right opponent, and suddenly, you're not talking about rankings anymore. You're talking about the belt. But getting a title shot can take years. You might need 3 wins, maybe 5, and 1 loss at the wrong time can send you several steps backward. And when the call finally comes, everything changes again. Because for the first time in your career, you're not fighting for another win. You're fighting to become the best in the world. 1 training camp, 5 rounds, 25 minutes. Win, and the championship belt goes home with you. Lose, and you may never get this close again. Level 6 is the UFC Champion. After years of training, dozens of fights, injuries, losses, and sacrifices, you finally reach the fight that can put a belt around your waist. A championship fight can last 5 rounds. 25 minutes against someone who has already proven they are one of the best fighters on the planet. And then, after 5 rounds, you hear your name. The referee raises your hand. The belt is placed around your waist. For one moment, every sacrifice feels like it led here. The money can change dramatically at this level. Depending on the fighter and the contract, championship-level fighters may earn hundreds of thousands of dollars or more for major fights. But becoming champion doesn't make the pressure disappear. It multiplies it. Before, you were chasing one person. Now, an entire division is chasing you. Every contender studies your fights. Every mistake becomes a weakness someone is preparing to exploit. And every title defense comes with the same risk. Lose once, and the belt leaves with someone else. Defend the belt once, and you prove the championship wasn't an accident. Defend it again, and people start asking how long you can keep it. But even championship money has levels. There are champions people respect, and then there are fighters whose names become bigger than the belt itself. The difference is simple. A champion wins fights. A superstar makes people care about the fight before it even happens. And when millions of people want to watch because your name is on the poster, you've reached the final level. Level 7 is the UFC Superstar. At this point, the belt might still matter, but your name has become something even more valuable. People don't just watch because you're the champion. They watch because you're you. Now, the biggest fights can generate life-changing money. For the rare stars at the very top, total earnings connected to a major fight can potentially reach into the millions. But you're no longer earning attention only inside the cage. Interviews, sponsorships, media appearances. Your personality becomes part of the business. And that creates something most fighters never have: leverage. When you can bring millions of eyes to an event, promoters don't just choose your opponent. You become part of the conversation. The opponent gets bigger. The arena gets bigger. And eventually, one fight becomes more than a championship defense. It becomes an event the entire sport is waiting for. But there is a strange price for reaching the top. When you're unknown, losing one fight hurts your record. When you're a superstar, losing happens in front of the entire world. And eventually, you realize the most valuable thing you've built isn't the belt. Belts can be lost. Records can change. What you've built is an audience that wants to know what you do next. Because every superstar fighter started somewhere nobody was watching. A small gym, an empty cage, a fight that barely paid anything. The difference is that they kept winning when almost nobody cared. Until eventually, everyone did. 7 levels. From fighting for experience to fighting for millions. But every level demands the same thing. Step inside the cage, face the person across from you, and prove that you're ready for whatever comes next.